I was gonna say we're both old hat at that.
You mean to tell me you don't have an OnlyFans? I don't believe it.
It's only man's.
Only man's. All right. Hey everybody, welcome to an episode of Not For Nothing. My name is Joe Capobianco, in case you didn't remember that from the last fucking year of these fucking nightmare fucking videos. But I am now in Franklin, Tennessee. We left Alabama last night, and I'm sitting here with a guy who the last time I saw was about 20 years ago, if not more. Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name's Turk. Tattooer from California, but for the last 2 years I've been here in Franklin, Tennessee.
All right, so like, where did you get your start? Like, you're from Southern California, yeah?
I'm originally from Southern California,
okay.
but I'm from a pretty bad part of Southern California called San Bernardino. After high school, I moved up to the Bay Area. My older brother lived up there and was just like begging me to get out of that area because almost everybody I went to school with is either dead or drugs, bikers, like all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
like legit. And so my older brother was just like, dude, sleep on my couch, anything, get out of here.
Just get the fuck out of there.
And so I moved up there. He was living on in like campus housing. His wife was going to Cal Berkeley at the time. And so I just slept on a futon, like all 6'9" of me on this tiny ass little thing.
You're 6'9"?
Yeah.
I mean, I knew you were fucking tall, but fuck.
Yeah.
All right.
I like milk, man. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, so I just moved up there. I got a job at a pizza place on Telegraph Avenue. It was the first job I ever had. I quit that job and got a job, or I saw in the paper, it was like a photo developing place that would pay for your hazmat training and all this stuff to learn how to use the machines. And so I ended up applying there, got that job. And so it was like one of those big, film
Like
warehouse.
kind of industrial places?
Well, yeah, like you remember, like you probably remember, like kids these days don't even know what fucking
like
film is.
photomat booths?
But you remember when you used to drop off your film either in the grocery store or these photomat booths. All of that gets shipped to these like bigger places.
Right.
And so, and it all gets done and then it gets mailed back. Well, it was one of those type of places, except it had a little storefront for people who lived in that area.
Okay.
And so I started working there. And one of the people that would come in all the time, and we saw tons of crazy shit in the film, as you could only imagine. That's a whole other story we could get into. But
I was going to say it wasn't like Red Dragon kind of stuff, was it?
No, I mean, we had to call the cops at least once, but yeah, we saw some wild stuff.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to get lost in that
No.
story.
Yeah.
But one of the people who would come in, drop off film all the time was this chick, and they were always tattoo pictures. And like, I already had a tattoo. My first tattoo is a black flag tattoo I got when I was like 17 at like a punk club.
Nice.
Some guy doing tattoos for $20, like, total prison style shit. But I was just like, somebody give me $20 fucking dollars. Like, I need a set of black flag bars,
How old were you when you got your first tattoo?
17.
Oh shit,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and so, which that's a funny story too when my mom saw that shit. But anyway, so eventually I started talking to this lady about tattoos. Like,
Right.
so are you a tattoo artist?
So how did you talk to her if you're developing?
So because of that little storefront, like I
Okay.
said, there was a little storefront.
Okay.
So we had like some film, like a couple cameras, like, you know what I mean? It was just like little stuff. Because
Right.
most of the times, like, we made most of the money in that industry is made through the film. Film costs fucking nothing, right? And so you just upsell, you just turned in a roll, you need a new roll, and so that's how we would upsell people and stuff like that. And so when people would come in and like the manager was like, hey, you're a pretty charismatic guy, you should go in the front, you're good at that stuff, right? And so, and when it was super busy, I'd go in the back and tend the machines and like change bleach and fixer and all the crap that,
All the fun
again,
stuff,
nobody
yeah.
uses this shit anymore, except for like actual photographers.
And then 9 times out of 10 they're probably doing it themselves.
Yeah, literally. So anyway, this lady's her name was Karen Rose, and she worked at Picture Machine Tattoo, like in San Francisco, the original location. Before I think Greg ended up buying. Greg Rojas, I think, bought it for a while.
Honest, I don't know. Yeah.
But so it was Pat Martin Uick's shop, and then Pat died in the fucking shop. That's a crazy story. And then his son was running it. Guy was running Picture Machine there, and then another one in Reno.
Right.
And so But yeah, I just started, being like, well, I like tattoos, I got a couple fucking tattoos. And she's just like, cool, man. Well, maybe hook me up with some of this shit here and there. And like my manager at that place was pretty punk dude. He's like, I don't fucking care. I don't own this place.
Hook up what you want.
Hook up anybody. I don't, this is a corporate thing. It has nothing to do with me. You're not stealing from me. Do it.
You're stealing from the man.
Yeah. So, and this is Berkeley, right? So they're like, yeah, man, take it down, right? And so it was like, okay. And so started hooking her up, and I'd go into the shop only on Sundays originally, because she's like, well, if I'm going to hook you up, you got to only come on this day, because this is Richard, the manager, won't be there, and all this stuff.
Now, did anybody else know that you were going there and just kind of like, are you?
So I'm
are
getting
you
to
apprenticing
that.
Or just
no? And so I'll get to that,
okay.
Right? So like eventually, what happened is it was like, the other guys are like, oh, you're hooking her up, hook me up, and whatever, and I'm like, yeah, fuck. Manager doesn't care, whatever. And so I'm hooking everybody up. Everybody's kind of cool about everything.
I was gonna say tattoo shops are notorious for like the hookup.
Yeah. Oh, you're the guy, right? Like, and so eventually, I don't know if you've ever worked a corporate job, but there's a thing called loss prevention. So this loss prevention team came in and was like, this fucking business is hemorrhaging money. What the fuck is going on?
Where's all the
and
gear
so like
going?
manager down, they just canned everyone. And like I said, manager was like, hey, it was cool while it lasted, dude. See you later. Like, and just peaced out.
So
didn't
did you
care.
get fired as well?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to be amazing if you got this.
So I had to go back, kind of, tail between my legs and be like, hey, I can't fucking hook you guys up anymore. Like, a shit can, apparently. Like, they caught
Apparently,
on.
they don't like people stealing.
But they were like, fuck, right? So they felt kind of bad. So then it's like, all right, well, you can answer phones and shit here, or you can, like, because if I went in on Sunday, if Karen was tattooing somebody, like, she'd be like, well, I got to make money off of this one, like, or whatever, so hang out. Sometimes I could, sometimes I couldn't. And so, like, if the phone rang, she'd be like, yeah, just pick it up, say tattoo shop. Don't say what shop, just say tattoo shop, like they used to in the old days.
Yeah, we used to just dance at studio.
Yeah, because maybe they have the wrong number, but you're going to get them into your spot, And so hey, here's how to run a release form, or, hey, here's how to use this thermal fax, and like shit like that, like, help me out. And so it was just kind of doing stuff because I just was helping out, waiting between. Only person I knew in that area was my brother, and he was, kind of an asshole at the time, so it was like, all right, whatever. But then it was like, okay, well, we can kind of give you a job doing this, but you're not going to make a lot of money. You just make a little bit, just enough to kind of survive.
Right.
And so, and a BART ticket back and forth, basically. And then Karen kind of caught on to one of my sketchbooks and was just like, what the fuck is this? Are you sandbagging us? You're trying to get an apprenticeship? And I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I'm just hanging out. Like, I draw, like I'm drawing whatever I see. And then it just kind of was like, all right, And so she talked to Richard Sear was the manager at the time. And it was like, well, you can only bring him in on these days, only when you're working, and not, like nobody else needs to help him. You know what I mean? Like, that's your deal, and like whatever. And then so it was that. And the other guys treated me like absolute garbage.
So is this what, 95?
This is 96.
96.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. I got tattooed by Jen Cromshaw. I forget what her last name is now, but she's who was running Ed Hardy's shop the last couple of years before they closed that down, and stuff like that. It was like there was a lot of good people
and
in
some
that
history
time
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the history of Picture Machine
exactly.
goes back forever. So, but yeah, and then it just kind of was like, well, now if you're going to be doing that, you get paid fucking nothing. And so I had to get a job. I got a job at Pete's Coffee. And so I worked at Pete's Coffee from like 11:30 in the morning to, 5:30 in the morning till 11:30 in the morning. And then I'd take the train across to the city and I'd work at the shop from 12 noon to 12 midnight.
So pretty fucking old school.
And do it all over again. Years straight. Even days the shop was fucking closed for holidays.
You still have to be in.
They'd call and answer, like ring the phone if I didn't pick it up. I'd pick it up, they'd be like, tattoos, and they'd just be like, click. I'm like, fuck, But it's like, made it through that, and then 20-something odd years later, here I am.
So how soon was it before you actually, they put a machine in your hand?
I mean, a year. pretty much.
It was
like,
1 year.
That last little bit was like, here's a fucking Ziploc bag. It's probably got 2 3/4 worth of machine shit in it.
Nice.
You make them run and they're yours. And then it was like, got them going. And then it was like, cool. So get the fuck out of here. You can't work here. You're no good.
Really?
And just kind of.
They cut you loose.
Yeah.
They didn't even keep you in the shop.
No.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what did you end up doing then?
Unfortunately, I tried to get a job at other shops, but they're like, you don't have a portfolio, you don't have shit. Like,
Right.
and so I just went back down to Southern California because my buddy was tattooing at a shop in Moreno Valley. And he was like, I mean, I can get you a job here. The shops, we basically run it. The owner doesn't, he just comes to take money.
He comes and collects.
And so I really kind of cut my teeth in the beginning, like back down in Southern California.
Right.
At just like some of the most ghetto shops ever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but sometimes those shops are the best thing to kind of fucking come up in because you get the worst of the worst.
Yeah, it's the getting
And you
shot
just-
at parts and, you know,
Yeah,
get
there's
that
that.
kind of stuff, you know. Those are the things where when kids talk about how things are now, I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
did you get your shop hole fucking blasted up? Did your old boss like have a partnership with some cholo fucking like gang or whatever that when they showed up to get their money and your boss wasn't there, they at gunpoint robbed you and all your clients for their
everybody
fucking
there,
money?
yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear it. Like, I'm sorry your fucking rotary doesn't work
It's-
or whatever, you know what I mean?
It's funny. One of the things I always ask, and I bring it up all the time, but there's no real answer because these people didn't exist back then. Because you say it's like, do you think these people would have gotten into tattooing and survived tattooing 20 years ago, 25 years ago? But then you realize there weren't people like that back then. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I mean it's different, right? Like it's not as, I don't know, like it used to be everything was kept to breast, like pretty close to breast, right? And so people were pretty, even when I was doing the apprenticeship, it's like I'd go down the street's fucking Primal Urge from
Yeah,
Picture
that's
Machine,
pretty amazing.
right?
Yeah,
and I didn't know who any of these fuckers were until years later, and I'm like, God damn it, they were right down the street.
Yeah.
But Karen was like, oh, you know who draws a lot like you is Jeff Whitehead. You should go talk with him. And so I'd go down there to talk to him, and he was super nice to me.
Right.
But everybody else would be like, oh, you're Karen's apprentice, huh? Sit the fuck over there. Don't say anything. Don't ask anything. No portfolios.
They didn't
like,
want you.
No,
Really?
you shouldn't even fucking be here. Like, and it was like, I didn't know who Marcus Pacheco was. I saw Grime for the first time, and I was like, I feel bad. I still do it to this day, man. When people have like something that's seriously
Oh,
like,
an initial
that
reaction.
initial like holy shit, and I was like, I think the first time I saw him, I did that, and I was like, the whole rest of the time, I was just like, what a fucking asshole you are, like, you know. But it's like, you know, Jeff was cool, but everybody else was like, fuck you, like you don't belong here.
Well, it's funny because when you think about it, you got into the business not even realizing what you were stepping into.
Oh, not at all.
You know?
Not any idea at all. Like I have other old heads talk to me like, dude, you came out of Picture Machine? That's wild. And I'm like, at the time I had no idea. I just was like, I'm at a tattoo shop. This place is cool. It's got flash on the ceiling. It's like everything in there was hand painted by Pat Martinewick. That's the shit that was like when people were buying Huck Spalding kits, Pat's stuff was the flash that came with it.
Yeah.
That guy was just a picture machine. That's the name, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And so it was just like, I didn't get it until years later. And then I'm like, oh, wow.
That is
You
pretty
know?
amazing. You're like the Forrest Gump of fucking tattoo.
Seriously, yeah. Forrest Gump and Bubba
Just
together,
blundering
just
through the first year
like,
of your career.
Yeah, no idea. You know, like no idea that foundational shit that was there, and like you know, and how I would even apply it at the time because it was just like, no, you can't work here. You suck. Get out.
So now, how long did you end up working in these like little ghetto shops down in the southern part?
I moved. Well, so I worked a couple years back in Southern California. And like I said, I mean, some of those, I got stories there that are pretty fucking harrowing. Getting robbed, getting fucking just knocked completely unconscious by a customer for fucking, for some minor fucking dispute.
So how old are you at this point? Like 20?
Not even 20, 19, 20. Yeah, 20. I wasn't 21 yet. I became old enough to drink.
So 20
as
years
I was
old, if
tattooing.
you think about it. Like, so this is, again, something I say is like, when you came up at that day and age, everything was like a learning experience. Everything was like a life lesson.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like, you knew not to step out of line at all.
After you stepped out of line and got your ass handed to you for it.
Or if you dodged a bullet.
It was only a life lesson if you lived through it, right?
Yeah.
Like so. And
So I can't say any
in
of
that
that, 'cause
area
I-
that I was at, like not everybody did. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So, I mean, even like I worked at a shop in San Bernardino on Highland Avenue that like maybe not even a mile down the road was the shop where Kat first started apprenticing at, like even back then. And I remember when she used to come in, little rockabilly girl trying to sell Flash. And my boss was like, get the fuck out of here, fucking whatever, because he had already been arrested for tattooing minors a couple times.
Oh,
so
shit.
any minors in the shop, he was like, get the fuck out of here, because he thought it was like a cop trying to set him up again or something like that.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, I don't even want to say that fucker's name. I hate that dude so much.
Okay, no problem.
He's just a piece of shit. But that was the shop where I was. I'd show up to the shop at 10 in the morning to make needles. Because if I had made needles the night before and left them,
They would have taken
the
them.
boss would get all banged up on coke and be tattooing strippers all night, and he'd break all my packs open looking for whatever he could use to do his tattoos. So I'd show up in the morning and make just enough shit to maybe get me through the day. And it was like one of the times I was in the back, like used to be a comic book shop, so it was like a big rectangle. It was probably like 1,200 square feet, cinder block wall, little like, hallway here that led you into where the bathroom was, and then a like storage area in the back. And back there, a little table, autoclave, and a little soldering station or whatever. And I'd sit back there making needles. And then I was running them through, just loading the shit in the autoclave, and the whole front of the shop got fucking blasted up by that same shop
Holy
that Kat was
shit,
working
yeah.
at. And because they don't want rival shops. And that guy was connected to a club, and this guy wasn't. So it was just like, we don't need you.
You know what's funny? Like, there's been often times where I've made comments about that.
Yeah.
People like, throw a cinder block through the fucking wall, or shoot
yeah.
the shop up, or fucking
Yeah.
break somebody's fucking hands. And you got a lot of these young cats now that are just kind of like, fucking yeah, who's breaking people's fucking hands? I'm like, dude. Like, and again, thank goodness, I'll be honest with you, I shouldn't say, I worked in a shop that pulled stunts like that on other people.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate enough that never really had an issue like that. You know what I mean? Where when you're coming up in it, and the kids today don't realize, it's like, dude, this used to be a pretty legit gangster fucking business back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, it was cutthroat. Now, like, if you opened up a shop, like you said, on the same fucking block, you were taking your life in your hand unless you were a bigger badass than the guy who was already there.
Yeah.
Now there's no fucks given whatsoever if they open up directly across the street.
Oh yeah.
And you're supposed to be the good guy.
I've seen two in the same fucking plaza before, and I'm just
Jesus,
like,
yeah.
what the hell, dude? Like,
Yeah.
because in the old days, when we opened LeftHand Black in San Diego, Bill Canales was building Full Circle, just like on the opposite side of the same street that I was on, like a
really?
mile down
Yeah,
the
yeah.
road. But it was all taped up. There was no signs. There was no.
So
nothing.
you had no idea.
I had no idea.
Opening, yeah.
When I saw the Full Circle sign show up, I immediately went there. I was like, Bill, oh my God, I'm so fucking sorry. I would never do that. And he was just like, are you going to be doing fucking traditional Japanese? And I was like, no. And he's like, I'm not doing crazy fucking skulls. Yeah. We're fine. Like,
I think today too. I think the everybody's a lot cooler with each other. Everybody wants to be down. Like, even if they don't say it to your fucking. Even if they don't say it to your face that they fucking hate your guts or whatever, they're going to be polite.
I like to be the say it to your face kind of guy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't like laying in bed going, man, I should have said this, and I definitely don't want anybody ever saying, what do you think Turk meant by that? It's like, no, I'll just tell you now.
Well, it's funny too.
Like, I don't shake hands with people I don't like things like that. Like,
Well,
that
funny,
same guy,
like,
the shop I told you that got all blasted up. I saw him years later at the Queen Mary show and all that stuff, and he came over, oh, Turkey, what's up? And tried to shake my hand. I was like, what is this? Oh, it's not like that. I'm like, it's like that. Get away from me. I don't like you.
Jonathan and I were having that conversation because being from the East Coast, man, it's like it's a bit of a different. To my impression has always been on the West Coast. Everybody's nice to your fucking face. The moment you walk out the door, they're like, that fucking guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Where in New York, you tend to, if I don't go to a shop, I don't want to see somebody. You know what I mean? I was telling him a couple of stories of being in foreign countries or wherever and running into people I don't fucking like, and you try to be polite to start, and maybe you're short with your answers or whatever. But when push comes to shove, and it's like everything's cool, right? And I'm like, no, nothing's cool, man. Fuck you and your stupid ass. Like, you just lose your shit.
Yeah, Well, and it's like, so where I got, I think, that straight talk from is like, I worked those couple years down in Southern California and stuff. And that shop where I was at that got all blasted up and all that stuff, we did the Inkslingers Ball.
Okay.
And this was 98 now or something like that. And I was outside. I don't know if you ever did Inkslingers back in the day.
No, I never did.
But, it was Fred Saunders and Gil Monty, right?
Yeah, I know that much.
Yeah. So, it used to be sponsored by Lucky Strike. I used to smoke back then, and I was into more of the rockabilly thing back then too. And so I was like, fucking Lucky Strikes, fuck yeah. And so I'm out there getting free cigarettes and I'm smoking. And I end up talking to this dude, Toby, who owns a shop in fucking Salisbury, Maryland called Explosive Tattoo. And he's super rad. He's like, yeah, I was looking through your portfolio. Like, you know, you draw some weird stuff. Like, you know, like just, I don't know. It's cool to see that kind of stuff and whatever. And we're talking probably for way too long. And the guy who owned the shop that I was at, he comes out and he's looking around. And
where
he's
the
like,
fuck is he?
There you fucking are. Why do you fucking leave my fucking booth open and all that stuff? And this dude, Toby, now Toby's from New Jersey. His shop's in Maryland, but he's from New Jersey. And he's like, hey, we're talking, like, you know, it's fine. Like, he's just been yapping with me or whatever. I don't fucking care, fucking blah, blah, blah. And Toby just goes, fucking Jesus. Clips at me. He's like, I said, we're talking. And he's like, well, you're fucking fired, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, that's fine, he works for me now, dude. Move your shit into my booth, let's go.
Oh, good for him, man.
So he ended up flying me out to fucking Maryland. And then I ended up working with him. And it was like
so
right up the
how
street.
How long were you out there for? I had no idea this.
Yeah, so I worked in Salisbury from like, Inkslingers was September. I think I moved there in October because it was like, I don't have a shop now. He bought me a ticket, so it was like, okay, boom. So the end of 98 all the way to the beginning of 2000, I think.
Shit, good for you. I had no idea, man.
Yeah, and so I was out there. That's where I learned about the glories of Scrapple and all the East Coast things.
Yeah. All the stuff that'll kill you fast.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, and you know, Todd Noble was just down the street at Independent Tattoo with Matt Amy and stuff. And so I remember meeting him a long time ago too. And so it was just like, again, just like, oh, cool, like whatever. But it was like working for an East Coast dude that's what made me be like, no, you don't leave shit on the table.
Yeah, right.
Like you fucking you get at it. Yeah. You don't hide that shit. If None of this California bullshit.
You want to burn a bridge, you burn that bridge.
And so I was just like, this resonates better with me. I sleep better. I feel better because I'm not doing this California shit like you said, where you're just kind of, oh, hello, so good to see you and fucking whatever, and then you fucking hate that guy. Yeah. I'm like, why did you say hi to him then? Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Well, it's tough too to me because when I will admit this, when you do so much traveling, you know so many people, you do find yourself in situations where I try to be cordial. Like if I get stuck into a booth next to somebody I don't want to fucking be next to, it's kind of like you try to avoid eye contact as long as possible. But when you do, you don't just be like, go fuck yourself. You try to be, hey, what's up? And then you just do your thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think there's usually, it's hard to balance sometimes.
See, I feel like I've been lucky enough in my career that I've never really, even though I'm as blunt as possible, like I'm not an asshole about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, it's like, even though this guy we don't get along, you're blasting your stupid music and shit like that, I'll still come over when you're tattooing and be like, oh, cool, man, looks nice and whatever. Because I hate that tough guy mentality of tattooing and stuff. And so I've always just really tried to, even if I'm like, we're not ever going to be friends. Unless you cross me, right? That's different. And then I'm going to be like, no, you know, exactly. I've told, you know, I did Montreal every year for 10 years straight. And it was like, there was one dude that was like, put that dude on the opposite side of me. That's all I want nothing
to do with him.
And he was just like, done. Yeah. You know what I mean? Most of the times they're cool with that because they don't want to start any shit at their show either.
Well, it's funny. I remember Texas, so I did the first Austin convention Marcy put on, and she had a spot on there. Who do you want to be next to? And who do you absolutely not want to be next to? It's the first time I'd ever seen it.
That I wish everybody.
It's like how many names can I put on this list?
Yeah. But then you get the alternative thing too. Is like the last time I did Winnipeg, it was like I'm right next to James Tax and Rob Noseworthy, and I'm like, why am I in the middle of this?
Right in the middle of shit.
I mean, I know James, but still, I'm like, that guy's a monster. I'm like, I don't want to be next to this guy. He's can make me look like an apprentice, you know?
Yeah. Nice. So how did you end up back in California then? Like, I mean, was it just like
eventually it was like
home?
East Coast, yeah, it was like, you know, and like Toby, for all the things that I did learn from him and all that stuff, it wasn't the easiest guy to work with at the time.
Yeah.
After a while, it was like most of my good client or friends and all that stuff were back there. You know, I played music too, so it was like, you know, I was never into that like East Coast hardcore kind of scene,
Right.
and that's pretty much all there was at that time.
Yeah,
and so it was
it
kind
had
of like
that had that real resurgence in like the late 90s.
yeah, and so I was like, dude, I'm not straight edge. I'm not any of this stuff. Like, I don't really resonate with that kind of stuff. I don't know. I just felt weird, and eventually I just got homesick, really. And so I moved back, and then a buddy of mine that you know I used to be in bands with when I was like 15 and stuff. He was tattooing at a shop in Redlands, which is where I went to high school.
Right.
But so and he worked for. It was called Empire Tattoo, or it's still there, but and it's owned by Sean Warcott and Mike Trike. And so I went there. I was like, I know I don't have the most extensive portfolio, but I had gotten into a couple magazines back then, you know, Tattoos for Men or some shit. And so I, you know, kind of presented them, and they were like, well, we don't really have a serious spot for you yet. Like, you know, you can work here in the Rialto shop, or we can give you a night shift in Redlands. I was living in Redlands. So I was like, okay, I'll take the 6 to midnight shift or whatever.
Wow.
Which wasn't great, but it was like, you know,
people coming through the
people
door.
coming through the door or whatever. And so I still did a couple days at Rialto here and there when Sean would go out of town. And then I just eventually the guy who I was sharing the booth with there in Redlands, who was just a salty old timer tattoo guy who was never really like, he had no custom anything. It was like, you just pick.
He just
right?
picked stuff off the wall.
Yeah, and so, which is, you know, I respect that now as I'm a little older.
I think back then, though, that was kind of like, you know, because we worked with an old biker dude, it was the same exact thing, didn't draw a lick.
Yeah.
But pick something off the wall, he was all about it. And learning that from him and how important that was, and how important it could be just to become a better tattooer. That changed a lot. That changed a lot of the way you thought, because we were always drawing, always wanting to do our own stuff. But you knew full well it's like, well, if you can reproduce that, and then take that that knowledge that you learned from this and put it to your own stuff, it kind of makes it easier for you to get over the way of thinking when it comes to creating a good tattoo.
Sure.
You know.
Well, and that, I mean, going back to Toby, that was Toby to a T, man. Like the guy, he was like, "Oh, you want something custom drawn? You should get this kid." He's like, "I hired this kid because he's a badass. You should go to him."
Yeah.
He's like, "Anything else I can help you with, right?" And that dude, like, again, nothing really custom, but just the most flawlessly executed,
Just
like
clean
the
tattoos.
cleanest, smoothest blends. I mean, that guy is an amazing tattooer, but he just doesn't have that mentality of like, how do I create something? And but I mean, it's like, I respect the living hell out of him. I learned so much just from that dude.
Right.
Like again, on a personal level, but also just like application wise, I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Your stuff heals amazing every time.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, that's when you kind of humble back down. Okay, the art can be crazy and take you like a certain length, but if you're not, you know, learning application techniques and shit along the way, well, then what good is it?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So so yeah, I got both of those from him, luckily.
Nice. So working in that other shop, I met you in 2001 or 2. So when did you start?
No, because I moved to San Diego in 2003. Right.
So I must have caught you just at the tail.
It was like 4. I think it was 2004 when you came, because we were not open very long.
I thought I was still in. I thought I was still in New Hampshire at that time, because I moved down to Connecticut in 2003, beginning of 2003. So I honestly thought I had gone down there in 2000.
No, because so I moved to San Diego in 2003. I was doing some artwork for Atticus and Macbeth, and my friend that was like a artist rep for them, he was getting tattooed by Aaron that owns Guru.
Okay.
And so I kind of was like, I wanted to get out. Like, Redlands just too small of a town. It's one of those places like you can't take a shit without somebody calling to be like, it stinks.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
right.
so it was like, I got to get out of here. And so I'm not growing here anymore, basically. And so I got an offer at a different shop, and I was going to take it. But then my buddy Greg, who was AR for Atticus, he was like, well, my tattooer is opening a shop. You should talk to him. And so I went and talked to him. Well, I think the shop opened in October of 2003.
Right.
And so I was there for opening day, right? And then when Aaron had said that, oh, I got Joe Capobianco coming. I was like, holy shit, right? And he's like, I got to pick him up. Because, I mean, not to toot your fucking horn or anything, but it was like, back when magazines were all we fucking had. It's
I was very fortunate.
I was like turning the pages being like, what is this stuff? Like, holy hell, just the dynamics of it. I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. And so I probably still have every fucking old magazine that you were in too, to be honest. I'm kind of a hoarder, but my wife will see this and be like, you're a fucking hoarder.
No, you're a hoarder.
Yeah, so, it was just like, so Aaron was like, yeah, somebody's got to pick him up. I was like, I'll go pick him up. And so I came in remember I had a fucking Scion XB, the little box, which my giant ass, like everybody was like.
You were the first one, so that was the thing because I wanted a Scion, but I was like, man, my fat ass ain't fitting in this fucking thing. But when you pulled up, like, that kind of made me think, man, I can get one of these fucking trucks.
Yeah, you can. I was like, those things are roomy, dude.
Yeah,
like,
I like those trucks.
People talk shit about
cars.
them. Yeah.
They're not really a truck.
Yeah,
more of a shoebox on wheels.
It's like a little fucking toaster on wheels. Yeah, but yeah, so that was probably 2004 because it was pretty early on. And I remember the buzz honestly, was like, oh shit, Joe's coming here and all that.
It was
stuff.
so weird too, man, because I remember going out to that shop and I don't even remember how the fuck what made me pick that shop. I can't remember who it was that was just like, oh, you should check out Guru. And because I didn't know Aaron. That was the first time I'd ever met Aaron. Yeah. I walked into his shop and that's when they hooked me up with, I think I stayed upstairs.
Because he used to be an apartment up
there. There was a tenant upstairs. He knew the person. She was away. And he was like, dude, you could stay in her place, man. She's totally cool with it. And it was amazing. Like, the bed is like literally on at the window that overlooks the street, that main drag there. And I was like, waking up every morning and seeing that, I was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, at that time, me and my wife were talking about getting off the East Coast and this shit. And I remember walking the streets. I think it was the second or third day I was coming back from Trader Joe's. And I'm like looking at everybody there. And I'm wearing like a flannel shirt. And I'm like, man, I'm too fucking fat to live here. Like, there's no fucking way I could. Like, I'm not pretty enough to live here. Dude. Like, and that literally, it was a crushing blow. But I just realized, I'm like, yeah, you're never moving to San Diego.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a little bit of the same thing because I'm like, I mean, I've gained some in the last fucking 5-6 years, but it's like I used to be super gangly skinny. Yeah. And so it's like all these dudes are buff fucking dudes walking around with their shirts off or their tank tops and stuff. And I was just like, you feel like inside. I don't feel comfortable. Like I'm getting,
Going to the beach wearing a shirt and going in the water wearing a shirt.
Dude, I lived there for 20 years. I think I went in that water maybe 3 times. Yeah. Like I'm just not a beach guy. Yeah. I like seeing the ocean and shit, but I don't really care.
Nice. That's funny as shit.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, that had to be 2004. That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so that means it's been 21 years since we saw each other.
Fuck, that's crazy, man. Well, it's funny too because like we never really. I don't do a lot of West Coast shows. I was doing the Queen Mary. I did Golden State once. I'm trying to think what other California shows I've done. I did the San Francisco. I didn't do the San Francisco. I went to the San Francisco show as a fan back in '97, I think it was, 98 or whatever it was. Yeah, it was one of the J.D. Crow Dennis Dwyer shows.
Yeah, I was there.
But I haven't done a lot of California shows, to be honest with you. So.
You ain't missing much.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. Another thing Fudd and I were talking about on the way out here is like, fucking hate California shows.
Yeah. I mean, Queen Mary was cool, but if you were on the sub level, man, you were just burning up. I was sweating the whole time.
I was very fortunate.
Music, like, I already have a hearing issue in my left ear, man, and so like I've had it since I was a kid.
Right.
And it's just like, the band was in the downstairs in the area that's contained, so the sound was just insane.
I remember
like, I can't do this show
Tony
again.
Ciovaro did it the first year he did it. They put him all the way in that back room, that back boiler room. and stuff. And he did the show, and he's like, I'm never coming back to the show again. Fuck
dude.
that room. Like, this is bullshit.
I think the idea was cool.
I agree too.
The execution was terrible.
Well, I think that
should have just been like, we'll do it here because there's an exhibition fucking hall right next to it.
Exactly, yeah.
So do it there and give everybody admission to tour the boat and eat dinner and do stuff like that.
I think part of the problem is that's what happens when fucking people who don't tattoo for a fucking living run conventions.
Yeah. I don't want to name any names.
No, I won't either, but we all know who they are.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that more and more. It's like they're putting on these bigger and bigger and bigger shows, and it's like, unfortunately, the artists are suffering because there's not enough people coming through the door that want quality tattoos that are just, and then the inconvenience of having to drag your shit down an escalator And half the time the Escalator never fucking worked.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I was just out in California, like working on existing people out there. And I stay with Nate Banuelos. I mean,
sure, yeah.
Megatron, fucking, like, that dude's a legend, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
And I'm staying with him, and he was just doing a convention there in San Diego, and he was like, dude, they put us in this, like, auxiliary room. Like, nobody even knew we were fucking there. People were coming in being like, oh, there's more. Like, he was just like, who are these fucking people?
You know what the worst part about this is? I wonder if, like you just said, Nate's no joke. Like, he's been around for fucking ever.
Yeah, dude.
Like, the guy's he's a legend in this business. Yeah.
Like,
and it's like, you sit there and it's like, how the fuck did he end up back there?
Yeah.
And you often wonder, is it because you're, and I'm going to sound like an old fuck here, but is the old guard getting pushed out purposely, or just simply because nobody has a fucking clue anymore?
I think it's nobody has a clue. Right. If it was old guys getting pushed out, there was other people that should have been in that room too.
Right. Okay.
But it was because the way he broke it down to me, who was in there, but he was like, I mean, the main booth in the front of this convention was this like Sharp's Disposal Company had like a huge 6 fucking booth like thing to do it, and there were sponsored artists, and I was like, sponsored artists
for Sharps?
I get my needles taken out by this company and whatever. Like, who cares?
What the fuck ever?
That's a sponsorship now, and they're like, whatever. And I'm like,
dude,
okay.
They're talk about reaching for.
But
fucking...
it's like, I think it's just who gave me the money first, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you got the money, you go ahead, right?
Yeah.
Or I mean, you remember back when Scotty used to run Kingpin, like I'd be like, that dude, like, he was like brick and mortar doing it all himself.
Yeah, yeah.
And once he sold it to, whoever owns them and Tatsol and all this other stuff, now they have this huge fucking presence, but it's like, it's not tattoo owned anymore.
It's not tattoo owned anymore.
And so, like, it's just like, we'll pay all this fucking money up front. Right. And they're like, yeah, take it.
Exactly.
Those people who aren't tattooers, they're only doing it for the money.
Right,
If they were doing it for tattoo reasons, then you would never put Nate Banuelos in the fucking shadow
in the back room.
Like, what, dude?
The shadow of a fucking Sharps container.
Right.
Is he still in frame?
He's because the chair he's scooting back, so I was gonna move the camera. But
sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just gonna move the camera.
No, just tell.
We can just
something.
interlock.
I was gonna say.
As he was getting more anime with stories, he was like,
my legs are long. Okay?
We're just gonna scissor.
Scissor me timbers.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why I was asking. Do you think it's like this is a fucking fact that most promoters now are clueless? And I do agree with what you're saying about a lot of these big names, supply companies are coming in with big fucking money, and they are dominating a lot of the floor space on some of these conventions.
Yeah.
And it's a fucking bummer to see because there's a lot of small companies out there and some conventions do take care of those companies.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Some conventions
those
do
are
take
ones
care of
run by
those companies.
tattooers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I don't think it's an old guard thing, because you'd have to know.
True.
You'd have to know to push somebody like that out,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But they don't fucking know, because if they knew, you don't push a guy like that out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, does it make you nervous that that's the direction everything is heading right now?
I mean, the way I always, like, the analogy I always used, right, is like the spotlight of tattooing is just a pendulum, right? And so it's like, the people who are constantly chasing the spotlight, you exhaust yourself, you run out of gas, you're fucking dead.
Yeah, right.
The people who are like, I know it all, and they fucking stand up, whatever the shit knocks you fucking down on its way.
Right.
But those of us who just been doing what we've been doing and carrying our fucking path, it just shines on us a little bit every once in a while, and it goes on to other shit, and it'll come back and be like, yeah, that fucking guy's still here.
Still here,
And it still fucking moves. I stopped caring about that a long time ago, because you spend all your time caring about it. I'd rather still be creative. I still think this job's fun.
Right.
I still like my customers. I still do all this. And part of it is because I'm not concerned with that anymore.
Right, exactly.
I don't post on a schedule anymore. I don't fucking give a fuck what number it says on my, how many times somebody spasmed their fucking thumb on my picture.
exactly.
I don't care. Here's what I did. Do you like it? Cool. I'm doing it anyway, whether you like it or not. So,
yeah, exactly. Well, that's exactly that's the beauty of that is the
Yeah.
fact that no matter what, you're going to continue to do what you do.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. When did you start creating more of like a style for yourself? Like you're at Guru. I mean, at that time, like I think Adam was there. You were there. Gunnar had done a short stint there as well.
Yeah. So Adam, Hawthorne, he was working at a different shop in San Diego, and he had come in trying to sell Flash and little original pieces of art and stuff. And I bought some of the shit off of him. He had just come in, and I was like, this dude's shit is rad, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember going to Aaron and being like, yo, dude, like, we should hire this dude. Like, he's dying in La Jolla. He was in La Jolla at the time. And like, La Jolla is super rich, San Diego. Tattoo shops weren't super,
right.
It's just not as prominent.
Nobody's driving
there.
up to La Jolla.
The beach, it's like, you know, everybody's here.
You're getting all walks.
And you're getting all the walks, right? And so, so I kind of started leaning on Aaron, being like, dude, you really should hire this kid. You really should. And I was like, because as soon, and he was, you know, his art has always been the same, right? Like awesome. But his tattoo application's still a little like whatever, but not saying that I was above it. I'm just saying, like, you know, knowing what we know now, it's like, well, obviously he's monumentally cleaner, knows his color shit better, all that stuff. But at the time, I literally remember telling Aaron, being like, you better hire this dude, because as soon as he gets as good at tattooing as he is at art, he's going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah, right.
And so eventually Aaron fucking offered him the job. I joke with him and say, like, I'm the one who got you that fucking job. And it's like, kinda, but not really. Your art got you the fucking
exactly.
job. You know what I mean? But I was just like, dude, this guy. So Hawthorne had the connection to Gunner. And that's what, you know, this was a couple years later after Hawthorne was in. But yeah, Gunner was trying to get out of fucking, I think, Ohio too.
Right.
And so he ended up, Hawthorne and I were roommates for a little while, and he lived with us for a small stint before we all kind of like parted to do our own stuff.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I mean, it was like, that was kind of the epicenter of it for a minute, because, you know, Hawthorne's there, Paul Dewey came in, Paul Dewey shit is unreal.
Yeah.
Fucking, you know, Nate was doing guest spots here and there.
That when I was there, he was doing a guest spot that weekend. Yeah.
And so, and you know, and like, you know, that's what made me comfortable to even talk to Nate, is that I knew Matt Shama, and so I was like, oh, okay, like, hey, I know this guy, you know, and so that made everything cool. And but yeah, then it was like Cooper, the Superstition. Do you follow his stuff?
Yeah.
Like, he started working there, and like
killer.
Stuff like that. It was just like we started getting all the guys, like, you know, and it started kind of turning into what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Before it, you know, went the route that
before
it is
it went
now.
the way it went. So, but again, like, you know, at that time they're putting together this bodysuit art show. That was probably the pinnacle of that shop as far as creativity and being able to draw all this different talent, not just to work there, but also
for Southern California.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Because like, Aaron was definitely trying to do what Adrian was doing with
up north.
You know, up north with New School before it became
Attack or
ATK. And so, but yeah, so it was like, that was the idea. Like, let's do these things. We'd done a couple art shows before that, but that was like
that was the one that really attracted a ton of people.
Yeah, for sure.
So, now what made you leave that shop? Like,
I mean, honestly, dude, like, you know, it's funny because, like, the way Aaron and I are now is different than when we originally left off. And when we originally left off, it was just kind of like, I was getting a little too big for my britches, like, trying to be like, this is how it should be, but it's not my shop, right?
Right.
And so, and I was getting super fucking frustrated with, like, his wife leaning in and giving us orders and stuff like that. And you know, I'll be honest, man, I you know, I had been there longer than anybody else at that point. The other guys that got hired in that very beginning were already gone for whatever reasons they were gone for. And so I kind of felt like I deserved a bit more, right? It was like the fall of Lucifer, basically, right? I was like, why isn't it shining on me, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was just running my mouth, dude. I fucking was talking shit about how Aaron's running the shop, talking shit about his fucking wife and doing whatever. And so, I mean, it all just kind of came to a head, and Aaron's like, we need to talk. And at this point, I kind of already, like, I was already taking shit down out of my booth, because I was, for one, I thought I was going to move upstairs, be a rent guy, and be up there. But for two, it was kind of like, I was doing conventions, branding myself as LeftHand Black, like as you know, this separate kind of thing. And so it kind of was like, kind of already 1 foot out. And so when we sat down to talk, it was basically like, look, man, like, I know what you're saying, what you've been saying, stuff like that. And I was like, I know, dude. And I owned up to it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't hide that.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite moment of my life. You know what I mean? And I, you know, I used to drink back then and stuff. So I was just salty, shitty dude sometimes. So it was just kind of like, look, man, like, you know, I can't let you stay. And I was like, it's fine, man. It's pretty much time for me to go anyway. You know what I mean?
How long
like,
had it been? How long had it been?
Like 6 years.
Oh.
Yeah, it had been about 6 years. And so, you know, I just was like, okay, well, let's just part, dude. Let's just do it, you know? And I was like, honestly, man, I'm probably just going to do private. I'm just going to do something, you know, like you did when you left fucking Avalon. He had a little small Guru. It was like a street over from where Guru is. And it was like, I don't know, 300 square feet. It was just this little tiny
a small
fucking
little
thing.
space for the work out of.
That's when I met him, was at that place. And so, but yeah, it was just kind of like, dude, like, I get it. I kind of, you know, overstepped my boundaries. And honestly, you know, the dude's, all his books are all fucking business books and shit. And I ended up buying one of the books. It's called The 48 Laws of Power. And I read through it. And I even told him during that meeting, I was like, I mean, I broke the first fucking rule, dude. I outshined the master. This is your place. I should have, you know what I mean? As grumpy as I was getting about how you were running it, it doesn't fucking matter. It's not my fucking shop.
So it's one of those things, like I've got a couple of friends that are like that work for other people, and they don't last long because, especially if you're old, if you've been doing this for over 20, 25 years, it's really hard to eat crow and watch how other people do things. Even though it's got nothing to do with you, it is really, I mean, I go to people's shops as guests.
Yeah.
And some shops I'm genuinely impressed by how the shops are run. Like I'm just like, damn, that's fucking good for you.
Yeah.
And then other shops I'm just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But by the same token, it's not my fucking shop. So I know I get to walk away and go home.
Yeah.
But I think I would have a hard time working for anybody. I have a couple of friends I think I could work for. But for the most part, with the way I run my shop, it's like, I don't know if I'd have a hard time. And I have, like I said, I've got a bunch of friends that I'm like, I see them go from one shop to another because they just can't keep their fucking mouth shut.
Yeah, and I mean, so like, you know, at the end of that whole thing with Aaron and I, he was like, you know, I mean, yeah, you're right. You are doing what I did. Like, you know, I eventually got fucking pissed at Fip and Patty and the way they were running shit. I decided to do my own thing. Yeah. He's like, you're just going the same path. I can't be mad at you for that.
Right.
Just the way it kind of went down. At least
you recognize it.
Yeah. And you know, and again, like, I think, I don't know, a month, 2 months later or whatever, I wrote a big ass long email to his wife being like, hey, it was really unfair for me to fucking talk about you in this way and all that stuff. And I don't, you know, I just being cocky and just being whatever, but it's unfair and I'm sorry and fucking whatever. And I got no response. I don't care, but I put it out there.
But you did it.
But, and we stayed relatively cordial from then. When Hawthorne had left, I kind of went to him being like, yo, dude, like, you can come work for me. And he's like, we're trying to get our own shop going and stuff. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, come work here. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I remember Aaron came to me one more time being like, why are you trying to poach my dude? And I was like, you mean my friend? Like, I'm just trying to poach my friend.
Yeah, but
he already doesn't like it there.
Yeah.
And he's saying that he wants to leave, so I'm just whatever. And so that made a little bit of a rift, and then it was like when we were doing art shows, I remember he messaged me being like, how come you never invite me to art shows? And I'm like, you never do art shows. You never, like, you know what I mean? Like,
so the thing I've noticed with artists is the fact that even though you know what the answer is going to be, you're still supposed to fucking ask. And again, don't get me wrong, after decades of dealing with certain people and just knowing what the answer is always going to be, you still have to throw it out there. It's still nice to be asked. Yeah, you still have to throw it out there, knowing full well you're going to get mud on your face. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, you know, so once that even came out, I was like, okay. And we invited him every time since then. Never did it. Other guys jumped in and stuff. I had no reason to hate on that shop.
Right.
I just was like, I just can't fucking work there anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, we just have different ideas of how it's supposed
Dude, that's
to
the
be
oldest
run.
story in the book in this.
Yeah, of course. I mean? And so, but that's it. And then so I left, I think it was 2009-ish or something. And then I had a private studio in kind of more northern county San Diego, because that's where I was living at the time. And it was just quick and easy place to grab, and it was cheap. And so I did that. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she was always like, like, oh, you should try to make it bigger, do whatever, and all that stuff. And then with her help, really, I mean, like, I wouldn't have any of this crap if I didn't have my wife's help,
dude.
But
I mean, it's safe to say that a lot of tattooers owe a lot to their significant others.
Yeah.
It's usually somebody else that helps push.
Yeah.
In a certain direction.
And so realistically, man, I mean, she was the one that really kind of helped make that vision get a little bigger, because I was perfectly content in this little private thing or whatever, because I was traveling all the time. I was doing 6 fucking conventions a year and doing whatever. 2009 and 10, I probably went 500,000 fucking miles, dude. I'm not kidding. And so it's like, like I was trying, okay, if I'm doing this on my own, then I have to get out there and I have to put the name out there, or you just disappear in a private setting. Right?
Almost, and not to mention the fact that in a private setting, it kind of, although I've only been in a private setting because I was working with Corey Kruger at the time in 2000, and the reason why I said it was in a private setting, because talking to Corey is like talking to a fucking wall sometimes. So it was like you are pretty much on your own. It's you and your client, and that's not a healthy. But I was also traveling a lot, which helped me deal with that isolation.
That's exactly why I did it too, right? Because it was like, well, I gotta get out there. I still gotta see people. Working in this little box by myself isn't very helpful for my mental state.
I was gonna say,
I enjoy talking to my clients and stuff, but once that's gone, I'm like, okay, now what?
You
right?
need that little drive,
that camaraderie of other guys who are in the mud with you, right? And so, it was just kind of like, my. It's hard to say girlfriend. It was just my girlfriend at the time, but this is my wife, Crystal. She really kind of helped be like, well, this is how we can do it, and this is how whatever. And together we opened the bigger shop and all that. That was a fucking whirlwind too, because of course construction bullshit and all that. We were planning our wedding at the same time. We opened the shop in July of 2012. We got married in October of 2012, and then we had our kid in October of 2013. It was just like, oh my gosh, like everything all at once, like it should be, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, without her, I'd probably be working at your shop.
So now you guys are open for X amount of time. When were you on Ink Master?
Ink Master, I think, was filmed 2017 or whatever, but came out 2018, or it was like, so it was the way that window worked. It was like by the time it started airing, it was, I mean, you know how this shit works. By the time it airs, it's already over. You're already home.
Like,
you know what I mean? And so, but yeah, it was I think 2017, 2018, somewhere around there.
Now, what made you do the Ink Master thing?
So when I hit the 20-year mark in tattooing, it was kind of like, okay, so I've hit 48 of the 50 states. I've been in 9 fucking countries, tattooed in Italy for a long time, all this different stuff. It was just like, what, how X amount of magazines, X amount of awards, all this stuff. Like, what else is there really to do? I didn't do it because I wanted any recognition. Like, I already kind of had that in the tattoo world, honestly. Like, not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm just saying, like, it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of just was like, what's behind the curtain, right?
Well, that's why
I saw your shit, right? And I was like, okay, like, and I think I messaged you once when you were doing that, but when you're in it, you can't talk to anybody.
Oh no, I was talking. When we filmed our 3rd season, I was talking to Jimmy Litwalk almost every fucking night.
Oh, okay.
And he was filming.
Then you just didn't respond to me because you didn't care. But
I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah, I really honestly don't remember.
No, I think I was just kind of like, what's it about, right? Because I was kind of like curious.
Because if I had written you back, I would have been, this is all fucking bullshit. Don't waste your fucking time.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I didn't know anybody who had done it at the time, right?
But and here's the other thing though too. My feelings on it, because I was a judge, is completely different than the people who are competing. Yeah. Because everybody I've talked to, I'd say almost everybody I've talked to about being on it, and maybe you're going to be different than most of the other people I've spoken to, dude, they walked away from it loving it. They walked away from it being like, dude, it was one of the best experiences of my life. And I'm sitting there like, why?
Yeah,
like,
no,
how?
I wouldn't say that, right? Like, it was fun. Don't get me wrong, right? Like to me, I mean, I don't know if you watched the stupid season that I was on.
To be honest, I did. I stopped watching shows, and this is honestly, this is why. I stopped watching shows after we filmed our 3rd season, and our show was, I knew our show was going to end. And after Jimmy lost his third season of his show. And then it got to a point where I'm like, I know too much about production. I know too much about the bullshit that goes on behind screens. And I know too much about all the crap that's involved in making those shows. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want... I can't even watch cooking competition shows anymore.
Yeah, it's the same. Reality stuff is anything but, right? Yeah. But the thing, to me, it was like I said, I want to see, who's pulling the gears behind the curtain, right? And so... knowing what I know now, people are always like, "Oh, would you do it again?" And I'm like, "Sure," but they won't let me because I know how it all works.
Yeah, right.
Right. They want the guys who are gonna go through it.
Well, they want people. So that's why I asked why you did it, because I mean there are.
Well, they tell you, man, is there a reason or whatever? And I told them, well, yeah, I just want to see how the fucking sausage is made, and they're like, we can't do that. So how about because they can't break the reality, right?
Right.
And so it's like. You got to do a full psych eval. You got to do all this crazy stuff. Originally, they had, because I've got a pretty unfortunate history of abuse when I was a kid and stuff. And originally, they were going to run with that. And then legal came and was like, we can't use any of that because of fucking whatever. And the person could sue or fucking all this stuff. And but also I have, my oldest son who has a vaccine injury. They were like, let's go with that. And I'm like,
oh, wow,
okay, what does that mean, And it's like, oh, well, once we start talking and it's like, well, yeah, there's these private schools or things that we can kind of get them into, things that cost an ass ton of money.
So you're doing it for the money that
so
you
it's
might
like,
win.
yeah, if I get this money, I'm trying to help my fucking kid who obviously has a neurological disability. And so we kind of were going that route with the interviews, and it's, they get this one fucking interview of me being emotional, and it was towards the end of me being there. I'm 3 fucking months into being fucking in filming in Newark, New Jersey. Shithole fucking New Jersey.
I went and visited Jimmy one time, and I'm like, this isn't New York.
Yeah,
what the fuck?
So that illusion's broke too, right? And but it's so they caught this one emotional interview, man, and they stretched it out for my whole fucking season
whole thing,
and all this thing. That was the only seasons of Ink Master I ever watched. I watched when Jesse Smith was on there. Fucking that dude's great. I watched when Clean was on there because I know Clean. He's awesome, and so. And of course, Clean's just being clean. That's not a TV show, man. That's his fucking life. And so, so it was I would watch his stuff, but even still, I was like, this is weird. Something seems fucking weird. And every fucking shop gets the blanket emails from productions and all this stuff. Yeah. But I got a very targeted email from one time.
Do you think it's because somebody maybe gave your name in or something?
Maybe. I don't know. But that's where I was like, what is this? So I wrote back. And we had already done some big thing for HBO. We did a bunch of Game of Thrones tattoos at the San Diego Comic-Con and all that
sweet,
stuff.
Nice.
So it was kind of maybe it's hey, we did this for, this guy, some production person knows this guy or whatever.
And that is a legit thing because I know a lot of people, whenever something... It's funny because when they just filmed Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen, and they just opened up a Hell's Kitchen in the casino about 50 minutes up the road from us. And one of the producers that I met in the second season, he was the art producer, he just stayed in touch. And he was coming through town, and he's like, hey, man, what's going on? I'm like, we're filming Hell's Kitchen up north. Yeah. I want to stop by there. What day do you work? And I'm like, I'm here almost every day but Sunday. And he's like, cool, man, we're going to come by on Saturday. I'm like, okay. And to his credit, he showed up with two other producers, and we started shooting the shit, and we're just talking. And he's walking around my whole shop, the whole bit. And just to connect, but he goes upstairs and Christian Perez has got a whole fucking 3D model making, he's got all the fucking, what the hell are those things called? The
3D printer.
Yeah, the 3D printers.
Yeah.
And he comes down, he's like, let me ask you a question. He's like, are those your 3D printers? I was one of the guys who works here. He goes, do you think he'd be willing to do some work for us? And I'm like, I can ask. Dude, no lie, within fucking 3 days, he's fucking printing up little fucking meatballs with names on them so they can instead of the golden skull, they got fucking meatballs and stupid shit like that. And I'm like, that worked out. I made it clear to Christian, I'm like, dude, make sure you get fucking paid.
Yeah.
And the only thing Christian said, he's like, me and my girlfriend want to be on the show. We want to eat at Hell's Kitchen.
Just be eating somewhere.
They got them on. And again, him and his girl, they're tracked. They got on anyway. So,
That's cool.
Yeah, no, it worked out. It was a lot of fun for him. So.
But yeah, the whole show thing, man, it was you know, production, they don't follow up with anybody except who wins.
Yeah.
As far as Ink Master goes, like I don't know how it was on your guys. You were a judge, a little different.
Yeah,
on
it was
your
totally
end,
different, dude. Like I said, my, you know, and
when I finally got voted off the island, I like to say, fucking everybody was super nice. Nunez I've already known for a bunch of years. You know, he used to tattoo in Maryland too.
Yeah.
So I met him a long time ago when he used to work at a shop called Buddha Brothers, and then I'd seen Oliver throughout the years at conventions and stuff. Dave, fucking sweetheart, dude.
That's what he says. Yeah.
I hate how everybody shits on him. I even told him when I was done, I was like, man, I get it now that I, like, towards the end I got it, but it was already too late, right? And I'm pretty sure I started getting voted out because I stopped participating. When it gets down to those final groups, like, it's easy to catch drama when there's 20 fucking people.
Yeah.
Now there's only a handful of
and
people.
you have to, you I would imagine, as a contestant, have to physically or mentally prepare yourself to fucking pick fights. Because that's what's going to keep you around.
They're just straight up like, we're going to put you in the room with them and you guys are going to go at it. And I was like, why?
Exactly.
I started being like, no, I don't care about that fucking guy. Like, I was telling him, I was like, I'm already drawing my back piece for the finale. You guys can fucking do all that shit. I'll be in the thing. And I literally think that's when they were just like, all right, motherfucker, and just boop.
See, that's the shame.
Yeah.
That's the attitude that I fucking hated whenever producers or fucking network people or writers, because it's like, you're not a tattooer, you have nothing to do with this business, you're not a creative other than what you're doing here, which is to find other creatives and fucking crucify them. I was like, how are you going to thumb your nose at that instead of using that? You know what I mean? It's like they only grab the low hanging fruit.
There's so many times, like dude, I mean, they basically made it like all like solid, like traditional background tattooers versus all black and gray, like realism and type peoples, right? And there was a couple outliers on both sides. I mean, when they were like, oh, it's freehand challenge or whatever, I like straight up was like, you're fucked. You're fucked. I was just like, dude, I do fucking freehand shit all fucking day, every day. Let's go fucking do that.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, you can pre-draw something and have it next to you while you do it. I was like, that's not freehand. That's not freehand. You don't get to fucking do that. And Christian Buckingham, the other fucking coach, donkey fucking dude, was like, oh, well, you know, some people say it's not really freehand unless you just go needle to skin. And I was like, okay, let's do that. Let's go. Let's see all you realism guys that are printing all your shit off of fucking Pinterest and everything else. Let's see how you fucking survive doing that shit. And I thought, I mean, cameras were on me.
Did any of that make the cut? See, that's my fucking problem.
I was like, I thought this was the thing.
Yeah.
My wife was like, they never show you actually tattooing. I was like, because I'm fucking done. 6 hours? Are you kidding? I could have your whole fucking sleeve lined and shaded in 6 hours. What are you talking about? You're sweating over a tattoo that's a softball size?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm messing with people. That's real. But I'm like, you want me to go and argue? I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And again, I gotta fucking sleep at night. And people who know me are gonna be like, this is fake. Turk would not act like that.
Yeah.
And I know that. And so once it came down to like, this is how it has to be, and I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, all right,
So
well, see you later.
You kind of checked out, and then
Yeah. Well, I was like, fuck you, I'm going to the finale. So you guys dick around and do that shit. I'm here to fucking blow your dicks off, right?
Right, exactly.
And so when I got fucking canned, Oliver was the one who really was like, yo, dude, like, this ain't gonna fuck with you at all. Like, you're like, we already know who you are in the real tattoo world. You already got a name.
That's kind of why I asked, and that's kind of why I was surprised at how many big names, like fucking James Tex and his son, coming out on the next one. But they are getting bigger and bigger names, and I think they're enticing guys with bigger wallets. Whether or not they're guaranteeing wins on them, and I guarantee there's a little bit of that.
Well, not about James. James is legit. Like, nobody could beat James.
We already know this. I'm
like,
not.
When they announced the season and they said James Tex, I commented on Ink Master's official page and was like, I apologize to all the rest of the contestants. You're about to fucking lose to the master,
it's like,
dude.
Stand there like this because he's about to hand you your ass, you know?
Yeah, like, for sure, right? Like, I mean, I've been doing conventions next to that dude for longer than fucking I can think of. And just, that dude's unreal.
Most certainly.
But, and his son Anthony's nothing to scoff at either.
Yeah,
Anthony's
yeah,
a badass, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I was just like, yeah, you guys are fucked. And they have a great story, and they're genuine fucking people.
Yeah.
And James is a quirky ass fucking dude. Like, he's everything they fucking need.
Yeah, right.
I actually even said when I was on the show, and again, they won't air it because once you say anything meta, that doesn't go out, right?
Yeah, right.
But I was just like, you guys are just lucky that Canadian tattooers aren't allowed on this show. You know how many guys in Canada would just slay you?
Dude, it's funny. I remember like the Calgary convention, going to that show. Like you walk every single, and that Calgary show is fucking huge.
Yeah.
There's no dogs on that fucking on that floor. Every motherfucker working that show. That was the first time I'd ever been to a convention with that many female tattooers.
Oh yeah.
And every fucking one of them is mustard. It's like it blows the mind, the amount of talent up there.
Yeah,
It
dude.
blows
Like
my
that.
mind.
That's I can't tell you how many tattooers that I've said before. Like, you might be big in this town.
Yeah.
Nobody knows you outside of that.
Well, and that's what's
like
freaky.
when I go to fucking London and I get to fucking talk to of course now I can't remember his fucking name. Henning.
Oh, Henning, yeah.
Right? It's like, this is tattoo royalty. Like, Henning has prints of mine. Henning has original pieces of art of mine. Like, things like that is like, just as gifts, like, please take this. You're the wizard, right? I ran into him at the London show, and I brought him the tattoo card, his business card that I got from him at Inkslingers in 98.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And I handed it to him. He's like, dude, where'd you get this? And I was like, you gave it to me. When you told me to fucking, stop doing art like this, focus more on this will fucking like whatever. And he was like, no shit. Like, it was just like one of those like respect kind of moments.
So do you have a moment in tattooing besides that where you were so out of place, whether it be in the United States or or overseas? Like for me personally, the very first time I did a convention in Europe, and it was a convention in Switzerland. Philip Lou didn't do the first one; he did the next one that I had done. But I got that convention. I worked at the shop directly across the street from where he lived.
Yeah.
Their private studio. Felix was still alive at that time.
Yeah.
And that was my first trip to Europe. First trip with my wife, who would eventually become my wife. And I remember being at the convention and just being like, oh my God, and this is before I knew who Robert Hernandez was, but those Kiss portraits that he had done, the Gene Simmons, like the amount of talent. I bring up Robert because Robert's the one that left the biggest impression on me at that particular show. And that's the one thing for me that when I sat back and I'm like, you fucking suck.
Yeah.
I'd only been tattooing 5 years, I think, when I got the opportunity to do it. And it's because I knew somebody who knew the promoters. It was just the guy Bitt, who now works with fucking Philip.
Oh yeah.
Sailor Bitt. And dude, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, this is fucked.
Yeah.
Do you have a moment like that?
I mean, like I said, that first convention I did, Inkslingers 98, that was kind of a like holy shit, like that's Jack Rudy, that's Good Time Charlie, like some of these type of dudes, right? And so, but I was, a year in, so that's it was like, these are names that I was already aware of, but I didn't really know, right? Because also it's like, well, there's Bob Roberts. I'm like, who? Right? Because I just didn't know who that was at the time.
Yeah.
And so I think when I became more aware of like where I am kind of thing, it was either, I don't know, probably London or Spain, because it was out of the country.
Yeah.
Because that's when I was just like, who are these dudes? Like, these guys aren't in these magazines. Like, finding Tattoo International was not easy from where I was living at the time.
That
so it was
makes
kind of
sense.
like, I was just really only seeing like US guys.
Right.
And so then it was just kind of like, what the fuck, dude? Like, holy shit. Like, I'm like, have you guys ever heard of this dude Shige? Or CJ, or I don't know how to say it, but I sat and watched this dude fucking blast a hole back like in hours, like, just crazy. And I was just like, why am I here? Like you said, it was just like, I still kind of suffer from that, honestly. I have like weird imposter syndrome.
Dude, I do too.
All the time when people are like, oh my God, dude, like I've been, like, there's this kid, Kyle, right? I can't remember his last name. But
where, do you know?
I think Colorado, right? Okay. But I would notice this dude liking on some of my stuff, and so I went back and who is this guy? And I went through his page. Holy shit, this guy's pretty good. And so I started commenting on his stuff. My brain's also still trying to remember his last name, but I can't right now. But he you know, I was like, this is really good. And so I'm like bombing a bunch of his stuff or whatever. And, you know, he puts a little thing in his story like, holy shit, like got likes from this dude, big fan of his work for a long time and whatever. And he wrote me a DM and he was like, hey man, like, I don't know if you remember me, but I ran into you at the, I think Montreal convention, and I wanted to buy a print off of you. And you were setting up and I was really nervous to bug you or whatever. And you turned around and you were like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And you were like, hey, is that a sketchbook? And you're like, yeah. Like, you know, I'm just kind of an apprentice. And he's like, and dude, you like sat down, went through it, like gave me tips on certain things, taught me about Loomis techniques, like things like that. And really just took that time to do that.
Right.
And he's like, now, you know, I've been liking your stuff ever since. And then when you did this or whatever, I thought I'd share this story where a kid came into our shop. He was trying to look for an apprenticeship and he had a sketchbook. And I sat down with him for a good 30, 40 minutes telling him like, hey man, like you should, you know, focus on this or do that or whatever. And this will help you. This stuff's kind of irrelevant in tattooing, like whatever, right? Like I wish somebody had done it with me back then too. And that's the way I always still try to approach that. But he was like, and one of the guys in the shop was like, why'd you spend so much time with this fucking kid? Like or whatever. And he's like, because somebody did it for me a long time ago and it changed my fucking life. Yeah. And I was just like, dude, you just changed my fucking life. Like, holy shit. Like, you had that story for how long? You know what I mean? But it was like, I still think of that dude all the time because I'm like, that's why I still try to be cool and still talk to people and do whatever. Because it's like, we are getting older. Our generation of tattooing is gone. We have the cool stories. We have all that shit.
Well,
but
that's
it's
the
like,
thing you're never going to forget.
Yeah,
you know?
but it's like, why not help somebody along the way instead of just being a fucking asshole? Yeah. Like, you know, this whole fucking like, kind of mentality. I'm like, I don't.
Well, it's funny because I remember back in the day, the first time I met Jack Rudy, like he was a bit of a prick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, but it didn't make me dislike him. It was just, I mean, I will admit the first thing that came into my mind was fucking old man, fuck you, you know? I mean, I'd only been tattooing like 6 months, you know? Yeah. The first time I met him and he was looking through my flash. He's like, you think you could tattoo like this? And I'm like, oh, fucking yeah. But you get cocky and then he's just like, maybe. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to fucking shoot back to him. Because I mean, Jack had a fucking reputation, you know, that was one of the first reputations.
I watched Jack Rudy slap fucking Paul Booth at a convention. So.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Paul was fucking with somebody or whatever, telling him they didn't belong here or whatever. And Jack went over and popped him while he was tattooing. It was like, you don't fucking decide who fucking works here.
Wow.
It was just like, whoa. I went and bought a shirt and I'm like, I gotta fucking have a shirt from you, dude. Like, somewhere I still have that shirt because every time I pull it out, I'm like, let me tell you the story of this fucking shirt.
Well, the best part about that is they're tight. You know what I mean? It wasn't this wall that went up before that, after that, you know? And those older guys, like some of them
That's
are.
how you used to settle shit back then, right?
But
like,
some of them are, they're the people that are just like, yeah, I'll look through your shit. Yeah, I'll give you some advice. Yeah, we'll talk old stories, whatever. So I think I think it's more of a preconceived notion from younger generations that they don't realize. It's like, dude, all you gotta do is talk them.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've had people a lot of times like just assume that I'm an asshole because the way I speak or how loud I get on the convention floor. I get that way because I'm with my friends.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean, you act the way you are in front of your friends. You don't fucking play act. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that can turn a lot of people off, especially some of the younger generation kids that just don't want to deal with that kind of shit.
Yeah, the headphone generation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the headphones. Yeah. So, but did you? So you would say with what would you say would be that one thing? Would you think it was Europe, one of those shows?
It was definitely when I was out of the country. Yeah. When I was out of the country, I mean, I met dudes like G. Saliero, like the Human Fly.
Oh, G. Saliero, no, yeah.
Like that was like, what is this dude?
Yeah.
Like,
dude, I met him the first time in London. The first time I did London, or second time I did London. And he was hanging out with a bunch of guys like Dimitri HK from and all those guys.
I've got one of Dimitri's pieces hanging up right there.
Oh, that's fun. So, dude,
I was in one of his tattoo handbooks.
Oh, the handbooks. Yeah. So was I. Cool.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting all those guys, and they were this young fucking new school, just amazing fucking work. And now you look where those guys where they end up.
Yeah.
And you're just like, fuck, good for them, man.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was like leaving the States. The States was like, you know, I had guys that I held in high regard. I mean, I don't do a lot of Japanese stuff, but obviously like Chris Trevino, guys like that, you're just like, oh my God, flawless, beautiful stuff and whatever. But it's like, there was something so much more dynamic once I left here. Right. Tattooing still has that, a very static approach, or had at the time. It's obviously changed a lot, even in the last 5 fucking years. But it was pretty stagnant in my opinion. It was like, that's why I started going out of the country. That's why I started doing Spain, doing London, doing Montreal, doing fucking Winnipeg's and all these other like places.
Just to spread your wings
to get out there, because it's like, holy shit, there's guys really doing crazy stuff. And it was just so fucking inspiring. And I'd come home and be like, no, don't do this. Like, let me show you this guy's stuff. And I would try to find stuff, you know, like getting turned on to fucking Lars Ulrich and things like that. It was just like, what the hell? Like, who's doing neoclassical in fucking such a traditional, solid fucking way like that? It's like every guy that I ever saw in this whole, like, that new neo-traditional, they're all like, oh yeah, blah, blah, and I'm like, you got it from him.
Yeah, but they don't even realize it.
They don't, because they all just started borrowing from each other.
Echo, all those guys. It's like,
Echo and him, like, to me, were almost synonymous.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, I don't think a lot of people know where it came from, and that's the shame. You know what I mean? That's kind of the shame. Well, that's just, I don't want to shit on anybody else. But,
well, that's why I was like, I do my best to not name names in those type of situations. But yeah, I think that was the moment, really, was getting out of the States. Getting out of the States was just like, oh my God, there's just so much more talent out here. And it's being approached in a very different way. And it really just, I mean, there was a good couple of years where I was like, I don't even know what to fucking do it anymore. Like, because I'd draw it and be like, this wouldn't hold up to this. I couldn't do this out there.
Well, that's the thing. I think as an artist, you need to sit back and know.
Be quiet. You need some water or something?
Frog in the throat.
Okay.
But I think a lot of that is like, you sit back and you got to know where you are.
Yeah.
And you have to know your value. You have to know that you're, you know what? Yeah, I admire this, I admire this, I admire this, but this is who I am. And if I can be inspired by any of that other stuff and it'll raise me up a little bit more, then I just need to keep an open mind to that.
Yeah.
You know?
I think there's an analogy I learned when I took a search and rescue training a long time ago. Like, just because we're in California, it could be earthquakes and shit. You never know, right? I did it after 9/11 actually, because I was like, I don't want to be caught with my fucking pants down, not knowing how to help if it's time to help. And so there was a thing where it'd be like, okay, well, you have to get here. What's the first thing you have to do if you got to get here?
I can't preach in there. I'm stuck.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm stuck.
That's all right. There was an analogy that I had picked up. So, like, I take weird, like, things and they become these profound fucking life lessons, right? And it was like, oh, well, you got, you know, here's the map. Like, you need to get here. What's the first thing you got to do?
Okay.
Right? And everyone's like, well, I got to make sure I have enough water and I got to make sure I have enough whatever. And he was like, for what? And so I'm sitting there just watching. I was like, I didn't want to sound dumb. A lot of these guys are firefighters and cops and shit. So I was just like, I'm just here. You know, I'm a civilian. And so the guy was like, you might not need any of that shit. You might actually be where you're at. You just don't know. The first thing you need to do is find out where you are. That helps you figure out what you need to do to get there, right? You might go around the thing 1,000 fucking times. You have no idea. And it was just like, and that stayed with me forever, right? And so that lends into what you're saying. It's like, a lot of it is like, there's guys that I look at their work and I'm like, I could probably get to that, but I'd have to retool everything to do it. And I'm like, but why? Yeah. Those guys are doing that. That's awesome.
See, that's how I've often looked at it, because I look at it from the perspective of, I admire what they do because I don't.
Yeah.
And I do what I do, and you got to find the happiness in the place that you find, that where you are.
Yeah.
And then if you can build on that, more power to you.
Yeah. Well, it's like, even when I was doing the Ink Master thing, one of the dudes was like, you know, it was a portrait guy. Well, you can't do what I do or whatever. And I was like, yeah, dude, like you're right. Like being able to replicate something like exactly the way that it is from a photo or whatever that's impressive, right? That's why I have a fucking copy machine to do that, because I don't know. And I look at a copy machine, I go, it's fucking crazy, all the internal things. You put it in there, spits out this fucking copy.
Yeah.
But if you put a blank piece of paper in a fucking copy machine, what does it give you? It gives you a fucking blank piece of paper.
But I think it's also one of those situations.
I'm the guy who takes the blank piece of paper, like you,
exactly,
and turns it into
fills
fucking
up.
anything.
Well, that's the thing, because to me, it's like I don't want to say I couldn't do it. I mean, because not for nothing, and this is not.
I was talking about that on the way here with Ed.
Yeah.
It was like I have the skill set to do.
Yeah, I don't want to offend anybody.
I just don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to offend anybody, but it's like you can do it. If anything, if tattooing has taught anybody anything, anybody can do it. And,
sure.
I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, but it's the fucking truth. How many people do you know that never lifted a pencil before they picked up a machine, and now they are the best photocopy tattooer? And again, not putting anybody down, because that's not going to go over well. But it's the truth. But it's the and again, same thing for being an artist. Some people never drew until they were in the late 20s. They pick up tattooing, and now all of a sudden they find themselves with a style and a spark and some way to create that is different from everybody else. You know, so I think it's just a matter of like, for me personally, tattooing portraiture, I find it impressive as fuck. I just don't have the wherewithal or the want to do that.
My thing is like, if I don't have a hand in its creativity, then I don't really want.
So I'm the same way. I'm a firm believer in I want everything to have my thumbprint. I want people to look at something and go, "Oh, that was Joe Capobianco." And there's no better thing in the world than to have a friend be in Spain.
Yeah.
And I tattooed the top of his hand. He walk around and somebody stops him on the street and it's like Joe Capobianco, and the guy's like, "Hey, how the fuck did you know?" Because this guy is not. He's not savvy to that kind of stuff. And I've had people tell me all the time, "Oh, dude, I was walking around in fucking Los Angeles. Some guy stopped me on the street because he recognized my arm." And he's like, "Yeah, it's Joe Capobianco, right?" And it's like, "Yeah, how the fuck, what?"
Yeah, I get that sometimes too. And it's just like, what? I mean, I don't know. I guess my shit's super weird enough to where you could do that. But we were in Montana one time visiting a friend of ours out there. And we were waiting for this diner. There was all these people waiting. It was a 20-minute wait or so. And there's this guy out there, he's a fucking beautiful leg sleeve. And I was like, Tony Ciavaro.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, you know Tony?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, we're not like buddies, but I've met him before. But I mean, you can spot the dude's work a mile away or whatever." And I was like, "So if you are you still working on it?" And he's like, "I think one more session or whatever." And I was like, "Cool. Well, tell him a guy named Turk said hi or whatever and all that stuff." So he actually was leaving the place. I guess he was waiting for somebody inside the place to come out. And so they had taken off or whatever, and we were still waiting there for them to call our name. And the guy comes back around with his family and his kids or whatever. He goes, "Yo, I texted Tony," and he was like, "Dude, tell that guy I said hey, and his shit's fucking awesome." And I was just like, he was like, so you're a tattooer too?" And I was like, "Yeah, fucking whatever." And he was just like, "Cool." He was like, "My guy's this guy," and he was like, "But that guy just said, tell that guy what's up." And I was just like, well, fucking all right, you know what I mean?
It's definitely fucking super
that's
cool.
The ultimate. I mean, there's so many fucking starving artists, like in history, all the art history we've learned, the people die, they don't get noticed until however many years after they're dead.
Dude, it's amazing. I have friends that are talented illustrators and stuff, and they have a hard time making a living.
It's crazy.
And it's, as a tattooer, we've been very, very fortunate. We're very blessed to do what we get to do.
Yeah.
I hate to use the word blessed, but very fortunate.
Yes, I agree.
So.
Blessed doesn't bug me as much as using the word organic. That one makes me shudder.
Yeah, it's just fucking weird. So, as far as the art thing is concerned, you do a lot. You've always done a ton of art.
Yeah.
Before you mentioned something about the guitars and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I got a gig with Fender guitar. I paint for the custom shop. So everything that's American made or whatever, through the custom shop. And what's funny, I mentioned that Game of Thrones thing earlier. One of the guys that I did with a Stark sigil on the inside of his arm, just happened to be a luthier for the Fender custom shop and is now the head luthier.
Oh shit!
And so I had tattooed him there, and when this project came up, like he had reached out to me and was just like, "Dude, like I want you to be the guy for this. Like we want to do these custom paint jobs." And as soon as that came up, I was like, "I got a guy." And he asked me about it. I play bass. All my basses are Fenders. Yeah. And so I was like, fucking work with Fender? Like, yes, absolutely yes. And so so now I'm painting guitars for them. I've got 6 bodies sitting in my house right now. I'm working on a Telecaster. I can't show them until they're ready. They do it. I'm in that.
Now they're giving you carte blanche to do whatever you like, or
yes and no. They give me an idea of kind of how they want it,
and then you run.
But I do it my way, you know. And because the head guy is, Andy Hicks, who's probably the best guitar builder there is, and he's like, dude, I love your shit. This is kind of what I want. I know you're going to take it and run with it. And everything I've showed him, he's just been like, let's go.
We did skip past the fact that you left California, and now you're in Franklin, Tennessee. Do you want to go into that? Like how? I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
But
we got 20 years of shit to catch up on,
exactly,
Joe.
right? So what made you make that move, and when did you do it?
We made the jump in March of 23.
So like a lot of things, COVID basically.
COVID decimated our savings for sure. The owner of the building that we were renting, even though the governor had shut us down for 10 months, the owner was like, the lease says you pay, so fucking pay. And I mean, like we were, we're not taking in any money, so we're just hemorrhaging money at this point. And so we made it through that, got ourselves reopened and all that stuff, and finally got it. And that was with a lot of me shaking the fucking, leaving the phones ringing nonstop in local, the state Senate guys from our area and stuff, because I was like, doesn't make sense. Like, you guys have public fucking pools open.
Yeah.
Why are we not open?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And so my best friend is an attorney, and I was talking with him, and he was like, you got to start using words like discrimination. Got to start using words like capricious and things like that. He's like, because their capricious enforcements are what's making it seem like they're being discriminatory against your businesses.
Jesus Christ.
And so once they started using that legalese, then they started listening.
Because then they realized you
I was on Zoom conferences with fucking Wilma Wooten, the public health official of California. I mean, like I was like trying to explain to them, you guys are actually like fomenting a health crisis, because a lot of tattooers still think they're fucking pirates.
Yeah.
And they'll just go tattoo out of their fucking house.
Yeah.
You think you're slowing a health crisis? You're exacerbating one.
Well, dude, it's like, again, because when you put a bottle top on something, it's gonna fucking
dude. And so like then they started kind of fucking listening and whatever, and finally got it reopened. And then like through the chain, everything was doing okay for a while. I mean, we had like zero savings. We were just like, great, we're kind of screwed. And then, we had a 5-year lease in this building with a 5-year option. And once that option was up, because the governor had given so much control of their tenants to the landlords.
Which was insane.
Because people were squatting though and shit.
Which is understandable, but you figure out a different way. You don't give carte blanche to whatever fucking prick just doesn't give a shit except for the dollar.
Just the dollar, man. Yeah. And so it's exactly what happened. He doubled our rent on us or whatever, and we just couldn't do it, man. And we, one of my clients works for a big commercial real estate place, but he was just like, I can get you a building, man, but the permits in San Diego are backed up for like 16, 18 months. And so that's, it started to make sense. There's tons of businesses that had the signs and everything, but they just weren't even open. Right. It's like they're waiting for their final sign off. Yeah. And so, eventually it got to the point where it was like, well, we can't stay. Yeah. We can't afford those fucking crazy rent that you just tried to give us and do all that. Insane. And so, and honestly, man, I mean, some of the politics of California were getting a little wild. Yeah. And so we were just like, dude, honestly, it was my wife. Again, my wife's she's the one with the fucking brains, right? I'm just the talent, right? Like, and she's the good looks and the brains, luckily. But yeah, she was like, dude, let's fucking leave, dude. Let's just go. And so we looked. Like I said, we have a friend in Montana. Montana's great. It's beautiful, but it's uninhabitable for 4 months out of the year.
Fucking Montana.
And it's fucking like, and the population of the whole state is less than the fucking city of Nashville. Yeah. That's not good for business, right? Even. So it's like, that's not good. We got tons of friends in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, though, was doing the same shit with vaccine schedules and stuff that we were not into. Like the schools were enforcing all this crazy shit. So it became like, where do we go that's actually like pushing back on that and actually letting people enjoy those type of fucking freedoms? Right, yeah. And so Tennessee hit the fucking mark, man. Tennessee, population good, taxes low. We got a big ass fucking house with a big ass chunk of land, and our property taxes like a fucking eighth of what it was in San Diego. For a 0.1 acre lot, we paid close to $10,000 a year. for property tax.
Fucking insane.
And now we're out here and it's like $1,200
Yeah.
for like 3 acres.
That's incredible, dude.
So it's like,
incredible.
oh shit. Like my wife says a lot of the time, like my only regret is that we didn't do it sooner. We probably should have done it sooner.
Yeah. Well, how old are you now?
I'll be 48 in
Oh,
December.
you're still
so.
fucking young though. That's
Really? I thought you were around the same. What are you at?
Me?
Yeah.
I'll be 57 in September, dude.
Oh, no shit.
I'm fucking 10 years older than you, practically.
10 years till you're dead.
Huh?
No, I'm just kidding.
Today,
No,
nowadays, who
no,
fucking
no.
knows?
No, I didn't know that we were that far apart.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
okay,
yeah. Dude,
so we're about 10 years
Yeah,
different.
So
Yeah, because I was 77, so you're probably 67 or
68.
68.
68. Like I said, I'll be 57 in September.
Ah,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Nice.
So how much different is it here compared to California?
Dude, I love it here. The only thing that we don't have here, there's no good Mexican food here, but not like California Mexican.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
found
California Mexican is
way fucking different,
Yeah.
right? So that southern Baja California shit is just unmatched,
Well,
right?
you also grew up with it.
Yeah,
You know.
so, and there's a couple places that get close, but realistically, man, I mean, the people here are fucking nice. They're genuine people.
Yeah.
Everybody's hardworking, you know. I mean, there's some old money and shit like that. That exists everywhere. But for the most part, everybody's working. They view tattooers as just another blue collar kind of thing. It's the culture of tattooing is not as big as, say, the coastlines of the United States.
I would imagine
But
it's got to be kind of almost refreshing a little bit, though, right?
it is, man. It is. And, I don't mind if I don't have a tattoo to do and some old lady comes in and wants to get a little something on her hand. I'm like, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? Whereas before I'd be like, one of you guys can handle that. I'll stick to my thing. And
Exactly,
whatever.
yeah.
But now I'm just like, dude, I love it here.
That's
like,
cool.
I don't see the ocean anymore, but I also don't see an ocean of homeless people. And I
Yeah.
also don't see, there's like, save for Memphis and Nashville, like there's like no fentanyl here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you hear
right.
about that shit everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's, it's the legit like Gadsden flag, not the hijacked, alt-right fucking Gadsden flag, but it's literally like, don't tread on me, man. Like, you do you, I'll do me,
Yeah.
and we're fine.
Exactly,
And I
yeah.
love that. People look at you in the eye, they shake your fucking hand. They don't just say, how you doing, and just you go, oh, good, and whatever. They're like, no, I mean, are you good? Is everything okay? Can we
Right.
help? Like, we lived in our house not even a week. Everybody on our street fucking came to introduce
Oh,
themselves.
so that's sweet.
Like 6 fucking years this house that we lived in before we lived out here, we met maybe 2 of the neighbors, and one of them was a fucking, like, obviously like a meth dealer or some shit. So it was just like, I love this fucking place. This
Yeah.
is where I want my boys to grow up. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a
Like,
big deal. Having kids has got to be I mean, that changes everything, because you're
Yeah.
not worrying about yourself now. You're worrying about how your kids spend the next, where they spend the next 10 to 20 years that develops them,
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's like, right now they're all into fucking Fortnite and all that kind of stuff, which
Yeah.
is kind of like, that's exposing them to things that we
Yeah, they're fucking kids.
didn't really know, but they're fucking kids, and we all got exposed to crazy shit when we were young anyway, so it's not that big of a deal, but it's like, I just think it's better.
Right.
There's some issues here and there with the schools and stuff. Again, dealing with our oldest son that has his issues, it's like they don't really know how to deal with that. They just want to go, oh, he has this, well, then he goes into special ed. It's
Yeah,
like,
right.
no,
Yeah.
because he'll copy shit
Well,
that he does there.
I think that's part of the problem with like these states. You know what I mean? And again, I don't want to get political because we could easily get political, but I think that's the give and take of certain
Maybe
areas.
that's the case, but my wife's a fucking firecracker.
And therein
man.
lies the
She's
thing.
fighting.
When you come here, it could conceivably change things for the good for a lot more people than just
Yeah.
you.
Well, that's when, you see the stickers that say, don't California my Tennessee. And it's like, well, certain things,
Like,
maybe.
I don't want to be a dick, but your Tennessee could use a little bit of California.
Yeah.
Just
certain
saying.
things
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys should get
Yeah,
some.
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I think for the most, the overall thing is like, this was the best decision.
That's
I
great.
think.
I'm glad.
And I don't give a shit about rebuilding or doing that. I got a okay enough name to where people still fly out. I still go back to California every once in a while to help the people that can't fly out and that I still have projects on.
And you're still traveling a little bit.
And I'm
stuff,
still
so.
traveling, and like, yeah, we're gonna do Rich Hanford's Winnipeg show again.
I gotta decide. I gotta bite the bullet on that if I'm gonna do it or not.
Dude, let me know.
He's invited me. He's invited me almost every year for the last couple of years, and I'm like,
Let's go.
I'll
go with
I
you.
just don't want to go to Canada. No offense, Canada, but
Canada's fucking great.
no, I know. I
love
used to go
Canada.
to Calgary, Edmonton, did Toronto for many years. Like, It's just that, especially now with everything that's going on, like,
Yeah.
like Jimmy, know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna wait until Tuesday, Wednesday, when Jimmy comes back into town, because if that cocksucker can make it over the border and back without an issue, then we know it's safe.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about customs and shit.
Oh,
yeah.
customs and shit. Because every
Yeah.
time I can't stand it. The first, like, when Jeff Gogway got popped going through to London,
Yeah.
like, I stopped flying into London. I was like, dude, I'm gonna fly to Edinburgh. I'm gonna take a fucking train down to London. Well, I'll tell
I
you
got
what, it was
fucked
the
in
way to do
Edinburgh.
it. Did you really?
The first time I did Edinburgh, fucking, I flew out there. My wife and I flew out there. We had, I don't think we had our oldest son yet, but we flew out there to do the show. And when we got there, they sat us in the customs or whatever, and the customs agent was like, "So, are you here for business, pleasure?" Oh, we're here from pleasure. My family's Scottish, actually. So I'm like, yeah, we're here to kind of visit, like, where we're from and things like that, and kind of check it out, see Edinburgh Castle, eat shit tons of haggis, like, the usual. I'm in the Masons. I want to, this is one of the origin places of Freemasonry. I want to check that shit out, and whatever. And the guy's like, "Huh, that's interesting, because your name is on this list right here.
Yeah.
It says that you're here for the convention." And I was just like, yeah, well, and like, without skipping a beat, right? Because I've been dealing with Canada customs all the
Right.
time, and they're fucking way stricter
Oh,
than
I agree.
anybody.
Well, that's my point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I was just like, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I was gonna go by the convention, like, or whatever, but I'm not here to tattoo and all that stuff. And they were like, well, you have tattoo equipment in your bags, which means they already went in my bags, right? But I was like, that's just because I just came from a different convention, like, or whatever. But like, I'm not here to, I do have some gear, but some of it is stuff that I need repaired and whatever, so I brought some tattoo machines to hopefully get them repaired while I'm here. That's the trick I always used in Canada. It works every time.
Oh, really?
Right? Yeah, the guy working on my back, because the guy doing my back, he works in Canada. The guy working on my back also, like, repairs tattoo machines and whatever, so I brought him to him because, you Canadian guys are just wizards with this stuff. They're like, all right, this guy's okay, And, yeah, man, I mean, they pulled me down into secondary. They left Crystal sitting in her chair.
Yeah.
They pulled me down, fingerprints, photographs, the whole deal, right? And
shit.
so, but I was being super calm.
Yeah.
And like, I heard guys in other rooms being like, fuck this country, I'm never fucking, how much it cost me to fucking get here and all this stuff. It's like, clearly they're sending people home,
Yeah,
right? So I was just like, okay, I'm already fucked, but I just need to be nice, right? And so the guy's like, so you're not here to work. And I was like, I mean, I brought portfolios. I brought some shirts, I brought some prints and things like that. I was going to give those to people that are tattooers out here who like my stuff
I've used
and
that
whatever.
before. I've used
and,
that.
and whatever. So, but like, I'm not actually here to work. If I was going to do any tattoo, I would just tattoo her, just maybe as like an exhibition. But I'm not here to take your money. I'm actually here to give you money. Like, we're staying in this hotel for like 10 fucking days. The convention's only 2 days in Scotland. So I was like, we're here to do that. And the guy was just so perplexed that I was calm about it and whatever. That he was just like, okay. So, and meanwhile, Crystal's bawling her eyes out because they told her when they pulled me downstairs, they were
You
like,
guys are going home.
no, they were like, you didn't do anything wrong, so we're not changing your flight. He's going back right now. Like, they were just like, you're going, whatever flight is headed back that way is what you're on. And so the guy was just super like, okay, like about like being like, yeah, okay. I mean, it's a shame. I wanted to see the place and whatever, but like, if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. Like, okay. And so he ended up calling like Heathrow, and he came back and was like, so we're taking your passport for 72 hours. You can go whatever and do all this stuff. I would not go to that convention if I were you, because we're sending the agents to get the other people that aren't supposed to be here.
Oh shit, for real.
And if you're there, you're in trouble. You'll never fucking come back here. And so then it was like, yeah, no problem, man. And so we just went, stayed in a hotel, ate some food, visited the castle, like met the guy who put on the show, James, and all that, and did all that. But I was like, hey, like I kind of did a once around through part of it, and I was like, I'm out, because I didn't know what was going to happen. And but yeah, the next year we had come back and we like paid that like tax thing in advance and all that stuff. So now it's like, okay, I'm legit. No shit, dude. Same fucking customs agent. We're sitting in the same 2 fucking chairs. But this time we had like 20 something days, because I had just done Mondial with Tintin.
Oh, okay.
And I flew straight from France to
to
Scotland.
there,
And we were going to spend 3 weeks in fucking Scotland. We went all up through the Highlands, did the whole fucking place. And the dude just like, he's looking, and I know this dude knows it's me, right? And he's just like, whatever. But I have the paper, and he's just like,
and let you go. Nice.
I was just like,
there's no better feeling in the fucking getting that fucking stamp and just being like, you can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a legit thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question, and we'll end it on this. Like, what do you got planned for, like, say, the immediate future? Art shows, fucking, you know, any particular travels other than Winnipeg you mentioned before, but like
Winnipeg is like, I definitely need to get back to Canada. I haven't been back to Canada since all the COVID stuff, right? I had a like a pretty good presence there. I've been going there for so long. I love those guys. Like same thing, like I said earlier, like I'm not an asshole. Like I think when I first started going, I was a bit more cocky, and like now I'm just kind of like, oh, these guys are great, right?
Dude, I tattooed Rich back in 2000.
No shit.
And the fucker never got it finished. I did a Tomb Raider, like cartoony Tomb Raider.
You did. I've seen that motherfucker with his shirt off more than his wife probably.
I saw him in fuck, I don't even know how long ago it was. I'm like, motherfucker, you're never gonna get your chest finished. And he's like, no fucking way. Like, he's just like, fuck that.
This fucking gold tooth. Just
like, fuck, dude.
Fucking. Yeah, I mean, definitely getting back out into the convention circuit. My wife is planning an art show for here again. I say our, but it's my wife's fucking art shows. Yeah, right. She does it all, man. Like, again, like I can't say enough. Like my wife does it all. I just do tattoos, man. She does literally everything else you see. Like she does it, right? Nice. And so I would be remiss to not fucking acknowledge how much she does for us. But she started this art show when we first started the shop. She started our flagship art show, which is the horror business art show, where everybody paints on those antique cleavers.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that.
And so she wants to bring it back here now that we're in this location. So that will probably be in the works, as far as I know. We've been talking about it, and I know she's super keen to do that because that's really where she gets to kind of take over, and she lays it all out. That's and I mean, cool. she's in there. No one's allowed to see it. Like I mean, she's it's like that art show you were telling me about. It's like nobody can know until it's time, right? Exactly. And so, but yeah, so that more guitars for Fender will be coming out. Sweet. Again, I can't really, I can't even post teasers of that shit until they come. But yeah, realistically, just more travel, more just doing what I do, man. Like shit's getting a little, like I have some projects that are going to come out that are like taking my already kind of weird shit and making it a little fucking weirder, if you could imagine. But yeah, just staying at it, dude. All I want to do is stay busy and just be a dad and a husband. That's it. That's all I care about.
Good on you. I'm glad you guys landed on your feet out here. It's killer.
Yeah. So I'm glad you came to see us.
Yeah, same here, dude. I'm really happy I got to see you again. So
now you come sit in a chair with us whenever you want. So
I definitely, like I said, I want to come back. I mean, I like Tennessee, man. Like I said, my wife owned the shop in Chattanooga for many years. I bounced back and forth from Tennessee to Tennessee in the South a lot in the earlier part of my career. You know what I mean? So, and I like it down here. So
well, whenever.
Cool. I will have everything of yours in the description below, and that's the end of this one, I guess. All right. Thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
Glad to do it.
Like and subscribe. Spread the word. Do all that fucking shit. Help me out. And I'll see you when I see you.